Hello, my name is Susan Marks, and I am the Sustainability and Certification Advisor for the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. It is my pleasure to be here today to talk with you about Alaska and our sustainability story. Seafood is loved all over the world, especially Alaska seafood. However, did you know seafood is the largest traded food commodity in the world? Think about that for a minute. It falls higher on the list than coffee, wheat, soybeans, beef, and sugar. And according to the World Wildlife Fund, approximately 3 billion people in the world rely on wild-caught and farmed seafood as a primary source of protein. And that number is most likely only going to go up. In order to meet the increase in future demands from an ever-growing population, it is important when we buy seafood, we make responsible choices that will ensure seafood will be around for generations. But what does that mean? Well, part of that is choosing sustainable seafood. And today, I am focusing specifically on wild, sustainable Alaska seafood. Sustainable seafood is the most environmentally efficient source of protein on the planet. Something that is interesting, though, is that we hear the term sustainable seafood a lot, but unlike organic food or fair trade certified products, there is not a globally agreed upon definition for sustainable seafood. Certain parts of the world are just starting to become aware of the importance of sustainability. So, depending on where you are in the world, this phrase can mean something different for everyone. We could have 5 people on this stage, and chances are very high they would all come up with different answers. So what does sustainability mean in Alaska? Well, for starters, it's the law. Wild seafood is one of Alaska's most precious resources, and our state goes to great lengths to ensure its continued abundance. When Alaska became a state in 1959, sustainability language was written directly into our state constitution. Alaska continues to be the only state with such strict conservation language included in its constitution. For Alaskans, nothing is more important than protecting the ecosystem to ensure it is around for future generations. From fishermen and processors to scientists and law enforcement officials, sustainability is not only crucial to our livelihood, but it is a deeply ingrained tradition. However, we recognize a lot has changed since 1959, so we have evolved how we look at sustainability, and I would like to share what our story looks like today. Our sustainability story has 5 pillars, and these ensure when consumers or businesses buy Alaska seafood, they can be confident they are sourcing from the most responsibly managed fisheries in the world. These pillars are families and communities, fisheries management, resource utilization, social responsibility, and certification. Let's take a closer look at each of these. Pillar number 1 is families and communities. Alaska's fishing families are the heart and soul of Alaska's seafood industry. Alaskans have a deep passion and respect for the sea because thousands of families rely on it to make their living. There are only 733,000 people in the entire state of Alaska, and fishing and processing employs over 60,000 people, more than any other industry in Alaska. Fishermen are truly responsible stewards, and they know they must sometimes put aside the short-term gain for the long-term health of the resource. They are committed to obeying strict laws, careful harvesting methods, accurate reporting, and adhering to scientific data. It is how they protect the fish and their livelihood. We can't really talk about sustainability in Alaska without talking about wild. When you eat seafood from Alaska, you are eating real food that has been caught in pristine glacier-fed waters. All Alaska seafood is wild by law. In fact, did you know it is illegal to farm finfish in Alaska? Alaska is known as the model for sustainable seafood because our fisheries are managed for protection against overfishing, habitat damage, and pollution. Alaska produces 2/3 of the harvested seafood in the United States. This is more volume than all other states combined. A commitment to sustainable management means Alaska has provided a large variety of delicious, healthy seafood for many decades. Moving on to the second pillar, fisheries management. I would not have a story to tell you today if we did not have some of the strongest fisheries management practices in the world. Let me walk you through this. This graphic represents an example for one fishery in Alaska. Now, this whole image is what we call the biomass, which is the total amount of fish in an area of the ocean. Now, this part right here represents the acceptable biological catch, or ABC. This is the maximum number of fish that scientists determine can be sustainably caught. Notice that it's a very small portion of the total biomass. And this portion here is what we call the total allowable catch, or TAC. In Alaska, our fisheries managers go a step further, and they set the TAC even lower than what scientists say we can catch. Did you know that in many parts of the world they fish well into the biomass, sometimes resulting in the collapse of fisheries? In Alaska, this total allowable catch never exceeds the acceptable biological catch. Also, unlike other parts of the world, Alaska's fisheries management is open and transparent. All meetings are open to the public, and in every case, the public has access to the scientific data and research that is used to determine the final numbers. Our fisheries management process definitely includes many formal meetings throughout the year with different agencies. But in Alaska, we're also very hands-on. There is no better way for me to show you this example than for us to talk about salmon escapement. Each year, scientists need to ensure there are enough salmon escaping back to the rivers to spawn before they open up for commercial fishing. And a variety of tools are used to do this. This picture here is what we call a fish weir, which is essentially a fence installed across flowing water to block the fish from migrating upstream. It funnels fish into this counting station where a technician can count them and gather data before opening the gate to release them. Sonar technology is another tool that's used. This is a diversion fence that directs the salmon past a field of view where images can be captured and counted. And this is a counting tower. These towers are installed alongside streams to provide an unobstructed view of migrating fish. Every summer, technicians count salmon throughout the state, and a team will monitor a tower like this. There's usually one on both sides of the river. They'll monitor a tower like this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the entire season. There are counting projects like these in streams all over Alaska to track the number of migrating fish. In Alaska, scientists are not just watching the fish stocks, though. They are also watching the entire ecosystem, and they continue to learn about the impacts of climate change and include that in their management decisions. Our third pillar of sustainability is resource utilization. The industry strives to use the whole fish in order to minimize waste. By investing in an approach to increase utilization of harvested fish, seafood producers use the materials that are left over to create a diversity of products in the marketplace. Some of the ways Alaska increases utilization of the whole fish is through producing products like fish meal and fish oil, pet food ingredients, beauty products, pharmaceuticals, fuel, and much more. The fourth pillar of sustainability is social responsibility. It is not good enough to only focus on environmental sustainability for our fisheries. We must also ensure the well-being and safety of the many thousands of people employed by the seafood industry. Fisheries in Alaska operate under a comprehensive suite of federal and state laws and regulations to create a safe and fair working environment. Our final and fifth pillar is certification. Now, I would like to spend some extra time on this one because it is important to understand what certification is and what it is not. Even though Alaska has been sustainable for many, many years, in order to sell seafood into most parts of the world today, retailers and food service companies ask for an independent third-party certification. It's not enough for countries or regions to say they are doing everything right. It needs to be proven. Therefore, an independent environmental certification verifies a fishery is meeting best practices and is responsibly managed. Alaska's fisheries are actually certified by both the Marine Stewardship Council, or MSC, and the Alaska Responsible Fisheries Management, or RFM program. You might be most familiar with MSC since they were the first wild capture certification program. But today, I'm going to focus on RFM and why this is the program you should consider. Alaska salmon was the first RFM certified fishery back in 2011. Today, there are 9 certified fisheries, which include 27 species. This number is only going to grow as the Alaska RFM program has now expanded geographically to become the North America RFM program and is open to any fisheries in North America. Pacific whiting is the first fishery outside of Alaska to enter the North America RFM program. Recognizing the importance of having a choice in certification, the RFM program was developed to offer a credible alternative to MSC. Similar to MSC, RFM has 2 standards, one for the fishery and a chain of custody standard for the supply chain. In order for a fishery to become certified, they must meet criteria in a variety of areas, including fisheries management, stock assessment activities, monitoring and control, and impacts to the surrounding ecosystem. It is a very rigorous standard. In order for the logo to be used, your company must be certified for RFM chain of custody. And if the logo is going to be used on a consumer product, each company that takes ownership of the seafood from the first point of landing, each link in the supply chain must also be RFM certified. However, the great news is, after a company obtains RFM chain of custody, the logo is free to use. You can use it on packaging, on your website, on point-of-sale materials, and marketing collateral. This is a huge difference from other certification programs that charge a logo license fee. Calling out a product's origin motivates purchases. Research continues to show that people care a lot about where their food comes from. They want to be connected with the people catching their seafood. And when it comes to Alaska seafood, our research shows that having the word Alaska on a menu or product is something consumers want to see. The RFM logo lets companies communicate both product origin and responsible sourcing without logo licensing fees. So my question is, why wouldn't you use this logo? Now, this product carries both the RFM and MSC logos. As you see them side by side, I hope you can see the value of the RFM logo, as it conveys that this is a certified sustainable product and it calls out the Alaska origin, whereas MSC's logo is generic and charges a logo fee. Were you also aware that there are RFM programs all over the world? Right now, along with North America RFM, there are other established RFM programs in Iceland, the Gulf states, and Japan. Other programs are being developed and considered in Norway and the European Union. We work closely with all of these programs, and one of the benefits is a shared chain of custody, which allows cost savings and greater sourcing options. We currently have a shared chain of custody with Iceland's RFM program, and that is likely to expand soon to the Gulf states and Japan. So why does all of this matter? Well, let's take a look at the big picture and talk some numbers. If we look at Alaska and Iceland, we have a little over 3.6 million metric tons of RFM certified seafood. That number will go up as more fisheries join the program in North America. Now, once Norway comes aboard, it will add around 2.5 million metric tons, and together all of these programs equal over 6 million metric tons of RFM certified seafood that would be available under a global RFM program. And remember, one of the foundational principles of all of these programs is a commitment not to charge logo licensing fees, which makes it accessible and affordable for the industry to participate. Now, we compare that to MSC, and it's pretty close to their global certified catch of 9 million metric tons. But remember, they charge a logo license fee. RFM has a vision that by 2025, this certification program will be broadly used in the primary seafood markets worldwide. We believe we can make this vision a reality as the global RFM programs continue to work together and more companies realize the value of RFM. So in summary, let's review what you get with RFM. Number 1, an eco-label that highlights something we know consumers care about: origin. Number 2, no logo licensing fees. You can use this logo as much as you want and you will not pay a thing. Number 3, this logo allows you to tick the box that proves you are sourcing from a sustainable, certified fishery. Finally, many companies have sustainable sourcing policies or commitments. The RFM program is credible, robust, and affordable. And you can be confident in this because it was the first program to be globally recognized by the Global Sustainable Seafood Initiatives, or GSSI's global benchmark. I would like to invite you to visit our website at rfmcertification.org to learn more about the program, download brochures, and please sign up for our e-blasts to keep up with the latest news. Seafood sustainability is a journey, not a destination. It means being committed, working every day, and looking at the science and data so we can continue to achieve best practices in our fisheries management. Globally, countries and businesses are at different stages of this journey. In Alaska, we have set the standard for what sustainable seafood means. Sustainability is part of who we are. We have been practicing it before it ever became a buzzword, and this is not going to change. Now, certification is an important verification that we are doing what we say we are. However, certification is not what makes Alaska seafood sustainable. We were sustainable long before certification started, and we will continue to be if it disappeared tomorrow. Sustainability is just who we are in Alaska. You can feel confident that whenever or wherever you eat Alaska seafood, it is and always has been wild and sustainable. Thank you so much for the opportunity to spend some time with you today. Please feel free to contact anyone at the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute with any questions you might have. And remember, the next time you're out shopping or at a restaurant, don't forget, ask for Alaska.